As Border Patrol and immigration agents work to clear the migrants from that huge camp on the border at Del Rio, a contingent of Haitian American leaders from South Florida flew to Texas to help.
Among them, 2 North Miami City Council members who are also part of the national Haitian American elected officials network. Councilman Alix Desulme is the current national chair, in fact, of the network. He and North Miami Councilwoman Mary Estime-Irvin just got back from the border late this week and joined us right there live via Zoom. Great to see you both. Saw you in Del Rio. See you on Zoom.
Good morning. We're very glad you're here. Mary, I spoke with you on Friday. Let me just ask you, you commented that on your flight back from Del Rio, from Texas, that there were 8 to 10 migrants who had been released by ICE and were being resettled in Miami. Do you know how many ultimately are going to be released? Have any idea? Any informed guess?
No, I don't have an informed guess of how many are going to be released. But like I mentioned to you, Michael, on my flight last week, there were about approximately 8 to 10 members or persons, predominantly pregnant women and their husbands, that flew to Fort Lauderdale with me to be united with relatives here in South Florida.
Alix, when we were in Del Rio together, the 3 of us were standing in a parking lot, and I had mentioned to you, you were telling us you had come to fact find. DHS Secretary Mayorkas was preparing to have a press conference then. Instead of fact finding, you all found yourself being your own sort of social service agencies and really working on the ground with people being released with nothing, and bus tickets and plane fare, connections to families, hotel rooms. What was wrong with that process? I mean, were the sheer numbers just overwhelming the system?
Good. Well, again, thank you, Michael and Glenna, for having us here today, member of NEON. We went to have a press conference within 24 hours. We were supposed to get back. The Haitian Bridge Alliance, the only Black organization there, invited myself and I selected some members of the organization to travel with me, including council member Estime-Irvin. It was very, very telling and disturbing. When we got there, I think I met you at the gas station where the agency that ICE, the Border Patrol folks, dropped people to. They were overwhelmed. They have never experienced something like that, which is understandable. The situation was dire. And once they processed those people, they would drop them at the gas station, I think the Strip gas station, which was also the Greyhound bus station in town. And the leftovers, there would be a Greyhound bus that would come around 6 or 7 o'clock, pick up most of the people. Like 90% of those folks were transported to San Antonio and then eventually to Houston, Texas, et cetera, et cetera. However, there was the 10% that was left back. There was no food, no hotel. The capacity of hotels in the area, because it's a military base, was already preoccupied before this crisis started.
And I want to give our viewers a sense of, this is the immigration process. So are these people who are given, or the people who have been released and processed and are making asylum claims, for the next year, 2 years, maybe 3 years, they'll be going through the process. They are given notices to either report to their local immigration offices or a specific court date. They're left on their own. Left on their own. Is that the process?
That is the process, and we heard that it's been going on for 2 years prior. That's why folks there on the ground didn't really see why we were all getting that's something that we have never seen before. But I knew if there was one thing we needed to do as an organization who are asked to come and help, we needed to stop that. And I think by Wednesday of last week, that process stopped. They changed the process, which I told them my organization would step up and we would buy coach buses. We'll make sure we get drivers. We'll rent coach buses and have drivers drive them directly from the center that they are processing to their final destination so that they could eventually reunite with their loved ones. So they told us that would take 2 days to get done. But as of Wednesday of last week, they did change that, and there's no longer no one stopping at the bus stop where they have nowhere to go. So that's a little victory that we're proud of. Yes.
Yeah, Councilwoman Estime-Irvin, let me ask you, I'm sure on Friday you heard President Biden. It had taken him 5 days to speak publicly about the situation at the border, but when he did speak, he spoke forcefully. He condemned the way that the Border Patrol agents had treated those migrants in the river, the agents on horseback. Were you satisfied with what he said?
Well, I appreciate the fact that he did address the matter, but as the National Haitian American Elected Official Network, we are asking that he does a little bit more than that, that there is immediate investigation, swift investigation in 30 days, and to report back to us to see what actions will be taken, because obviously that was inhumane. We understand that, you know, they have to control the borders, but still, we in America should not be treating anyone that is seeking any type of refuge for various reasons in that matter.
On that note, we're going to take a quick break. We invite you to sit tight right there. We will be back in a few minutes and continue this conversation.
Welcome back. We are in the midst of a conversation with two members of the North Miami City Council, Alix Desulme and Mary Estime-Irvin. Alix, let me ask you, you know, when you see this huge one we all saw, the pictures of nearly 15,000 people, the individual stories begin to blur. You don't see them as individuals, but both you and Mary spoke with, helped, worked with some of these individuals. Tell us a couple of stories about who these people were and what brought them to the border, what made them take this really desperate, expensive, and dangerous journey.
Michael, it's a great question, and they did it just like any of us who are migrant, well, all of us really, for a better life, for a better opportunity. America is supposed to be the land of the free. And I think Congresswoman Wilson, I must say, who has been standing with Neon from day one. She called me and she said what we need, she would be there with us, and she made sure that whatever that we need as an organization, she's there to provide it as our congressperson, representing most of the Haitian American in Congress. That picture, what you saw under the bridge, I had an opportunity as I was getting pushed back from DHS into accessing the bridge. And I told Secretary Mayorkas when we spoke this week that our organization is impacted as much as they are, because these are our people who are trying to get here for a better life. And the Congresswoman was correct. There's a lot of miscommunication, but it also started with the department, with Mayorkas' department.
Yes,
So,
and was, Alix, excuse me, was Secretary Mayorkas empathetic? I mean, when you said that to him, what was his reaction?
well, we had a private conversation. I'm not going to get into the detail of it, but the gist of the conversation was we as elected officials, the Haitian American elected officials, are not getting access, and the media wasn't getting access. I mean, Glenna was on the ground with us when he had the press conference, and we had the wrong location. So there's a lot to say about that, and I did share that story with him, and he said he did not know that I was in town. We had that conversation on Thursday. So the fact that we're not getting access, we cannot confirm what's going on, is third-hand information that we are getting. And my members from 17 states, in Arizona, New York, all over Georgia, they are getting pounded by constituents, residents, wanting to know what Neon is doing and what they are doing in terms of members. And I share that with Secretary Mayorkas. So it's important to know that after speaking to several hundreds of migrants that we assisted, and Councilwoman Irvin, my colleague, is correct, most of them there was a pattern, but we didn't know what was the criteria or if they even have a due process.
That's
When
one of
we-
the questions, Alex, that we have been asking as well. And as journalists, we have not gotten those answers either. Just to throw that out there. Mary, in the really short time we have left, I just want to bring up a major concern. And we all watch that encampment. And aside from the squalid conditions, we know that there are, if any, none of those people there have had vaccines, COVID vaccines. None have been tested, and despite the DHS secretary saying there are protocols to do so, the Haitians who were released that we spoke with said that they had not been tested. What are the concerns of thousands of people? This country gives vaccines, sells vaccines, donates vaccines to countries. Why aren't these people being taken care of, and in fact taking care of the people around them as well with that kind of vaccination or testing?
Thank you for the question. Before we even talk about vaccination, why were they underneath the bridge that long? That shouldn't have been even a condition where someone should have been under the bridge that long. So as the National Haitian American Elected Official Network, one of our asks is that the people that are here, that they are provided the opportunity to be vaccinated if they choose to be, or if they are able to be vaccinated, and to have access to some type of medical, to have medical attention. So we're hoping that this government, outside of the vaccination, provide humanitarian parole. We're hoping that we have stopped deportation. We're hoping that there's a repeal of Title 42, and we're hoping that the administration is now planning to have policies, more U.S. Friendly policies towards the Haitian and especially Black immigrants in this country.
Yeah,
there are other immigrants that come here, and they don't go through the struggle that we go through here. So we're just asking that this government, that this president that came, like I've mentioned in our press conference on Thursday, that he came to Little Haiti to say that he would be a friend of Haiti, and we're hoping that he can be a friend to Haiti in this process now.
We understand. We were there when he campaigned in Little Haiti, and he made a pledge. I know you're trying to hold him to the promises he made in the campaign. Mary Estime-Irvin, thank you. Alix Desulme, both thank you for being with us today.
So much.